You're listening to Barbell Logic,
the podcast where we talk about what it means to experience strength
and how you can use simple, hard, and effective strategies in training and nutrition to improve your life.
It starts with meeting you where you are right now and finding lasting solutions.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Barbell Logic podcast. Guys, we're back.
And we're back.
It's been 4 months. Holy cow.
Really?
And by the way, we launched this podcast 6 years ago.
That's
so
amazing.
It's pretty crazy.
Amazing.
6 years, done, lots of weeks where we did 1 podcast a week, 2 podcasts a week, even 3 podcasts a week. If you heard our last podcast 4 months ago, we had landed a big Air Force contract. We have taken a pause from the podcast for a few months to focus on that. That's up and running full bore. It's going great. We're excited. And we are excited to talk. This is really just a teaser episode that's just going to be a few minutes long. And we will officially come back the week of July 4th, which is the week we launched the original Barbell Logic podcast Scott and I did 6 years ago. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. So I am here. I am your co-host, Matt Reynolds, and I'm here with 2 of my favorite people in the whole world, Niki Sims and Andrew Jackson. Welcome to the show. You all know them well. Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, everybody. So good to be back. I missed you all.
It was crazy. I've done the podcast. I was trying to figure out it. I mean, it's literally somewhere between 500 and 600 episodes. We've got the numbered episodes, but when you put in the series, many hundreds of episodes. And so,
so much
a lot
talking.
of hours of talking.
yes, there have definitely been times in my life where the podcast was like, I don't know what else to talk about. And by taking this 4-month break, and business is going great. We'll talk about that a little bit. I'm super excited. I've got topics that I'm excited to talk about. You guys have topics that you're excited about. And so we're going to walk through where the Barbell Logic podcast is going here in the future and talk about what we're going to do. And so first off, our plan, because we have such a good following on Barbell Logic podcast, by the way, and if you're hearing this and you had unsubscribed, please resubscribe to the Barbell Logic podcast, whether that's on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever it is that you listen to your podcast, Overcast, whatnot. We'd also love a 5-star review. It will help sort of as we start to relaunch the podcast. That will play into the algorithm and help other people find the Barbell Logic podcast. And so our plan really for the podcast moving forward in the future is really 2 different styles of podcasts in one feed. So covering 2 broad topics, one focused on training and one focused on coaching excellence. And so what we're going to do is we're going to title each of those. We'll talk through this, but you'll be able to very clearly, if you're just interested in the training and lifestyle sort of piece, you'll very easily be able to recognize which podcast episode that is. If you're a coach, up-and-coming coach, professional coach, business, you'll be able to identify which ones those are as well. Of course, we'd love for you to listen to all of them, but we also recognize we want to try to meet people where they are. One of the things that we've loved about Barbell Logic, about the business over the past, we're in our 8th year of business, which is crazy. I just graduated my oldest daughter, and I remember I took a picture of her at her graduation party we had a couple of weeks ago, and I sent a message to you guys, and I said, this girl was 10
Oh my gosh.
when we started this business, which is absolutely insanity.
God, it's amazing.
And actually I'm holding her. She made the provost list. She had a 4.0 in her. So she completed both her senior year of high school and her freshman year of college.
Congratulations.
In the same year. She got to dual enroll for everything. I'm really proud of her for that. That's a pretty big deal to do a 4.0 with no help from me whatsoever. I've watched her really grow up as far as the way she's matured in of dad having to constantly drive her to get her work done and try to pull the lazy out of her. And it was wild this last year. She really just took control and did great in school. So man, we've been doing this for a long time.
Does it seem like it went fast, or does it seem like a long time ago? Or
Yeah,
a little bit of both?
it's weird. It's actually a little bit of both. And so much life has occurred the past 8 years that if I think back about who I was and who we were as a business and a family and all that stuff, that just seems like a lifetime ago. But also, for those of you who are parents and know, you blink and they grow up. And so the kids grow up fast, but lots of life happens in the process. And so it does, on one side, it seems like it was decades ago that I owned Strong Gym or that I was launching the online coaching business. That seems like a very long time ago. Having a 10 or 11-year-old daughter who's now 18 seems like yesterday. And so it's weird how some of those things go fast and some of them kind of go slow. And so we want to introduce the new podcast episodes that we're going to be releasing. And so the first one is a podcast that you two are going to lead called Beast Over Burden. And I'm going to turn that over to you and let you talk a little bit about where you're passionate and what those topics are going to cover for the lifter.
Yeah. So during our time off, we collected some feedback. So thanks to all of you who submitted answers to our surveys. I also did some phone calls with people who've been listening to the podcast, people who are clients of Barbell Logic online coaching, and also surveyed a lot of those clients. And so much came up about the podcast, what it meant to their lives, what you got out of it, how maybe the coaching podcast wasn't for you, or maybe it was for you, or how business stuff is exactly what you wanted to hear, or how you really just wanted to cut to the lifting content. So we took that feedback and now we're going to give you both of them because we can't help ourselves. So the one that Andrew and I are going to lead, and we're really excited to talk about this, we're calling it Beast Over Burden, because I think a lot of you, and myself included, we're at this stage in our lives where all of a sudden, we're noticing how we're getting a little bit older. We're seeing people who we love get a little bit older, and we can see one future where we're weak and we don't know how to express ourselves physically, and our life is changing in a way that we do not like, and we're not going to be able to get out of that. And we see one pathway of potential where we're actually crushing it. We're strong. We look really good. We feel really good. We go on all-inclusive beach vacations in our 60s and wear tiny bikinis. And that's...
I know I do.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Or Speedos.
Yeah, our teeny Speedos. That's what I want. And I think a lot of you love your lives and you want to figure out how to love your lives even more as you get older and love your bodies and figure out how to feel good. And so I want you to know that you can be a beast as you age, and that training doesn't have to be a burden, and you don't have to be a burden on your family as you get older. So Andrew and I are going to speak to that. There are a lot of things that I think are problems that you can encounter along that way that we're excited to talk about. Andrew, what are some of those?
Yeah, I thought about the consistent theme of problems that we encounter both in our own training and with our clients. I'm more and more, and some of this, I think a lot of it actually plays into the fact that we've been around for 8 years, like Matt said, and we have clients that have been in with us that entire time. And the types of problems that you're solving with somebody who's training for 3 to 6 months versus the client that's training for 6 to 8 to 10 to 20 years are very different. And so the categories that I noticed that we keep coming back to in our conversations are around either who I want to be in the future, that I'm feeling a certain way now, and it's kind of going on this trend that I want to figure out how to avoid. People are starting to imagine what they're going to be, who they're going to be in 10, 20, 30 years. And we believe very passionately, and I think the evidence and our experience continues to demonstrate that strength training and building muscle mass are solutions to creating a version of yourself in the future that is more resilient, healthier, lower risk of all-cause mortality, many different types of age-related illnesses or impacts to your quality of life can be mitigated or avoided by strength training. It just continues to be something that we see over and over again. You know, Matt, I know you've just recently been reading Peter Attia's book on longevity.
Yeah,
and he
Outlive.
cites...
I love it.
Or Outlives. Yeah. He cites strength training and muscle mass as one of the key strategies to mitigate those, or to increase not just the length of your life, but the quality of your life.
Yes, the health of your life. I love it. By the way, I'm going to send him, I'd love to have him on the podcast. So if you're listening or somebody has, it fits so perfectly with what we've been talking about. And so I've been riding my bike a lot. It's one of the things that for me, I've been strong for years and I've built this base of strength, but I know that I need to improve my cardiovascular fitness, my oxidative base, my VO2 max. Again, I've lost a little over 50 pounds. I feel great. But it's interesting as I listen to his book and I think about the series that we've done, like with Dr. Sullivan and with Noah, like those fit so well with his book. And I would love to send him that to show him like, hey, we didn't copy off your book. These things are things we put out 5, 6, 7 years ago,
right?
But they fit so perfectly. And so again, that idea of strength is the basis for quality of life improvement, while not strength at all costs. We're not gallon of milk a day. We want to be strong, but we also want to do it in a way that pairs with good, healthy cardiovascular fitness.
Right.
I just had blood tests done in January that I wasn't super happy about, and had blood tests done again a couple weeks ago. And the change was like mind-boggling. Like, it was incredible, the change.
Right.
And it was by attacking those weak points in not just the lifespan thing that we were doing, but the health span, the quality of life stuff. I looked at those things. People want to do what they're great at. What I'm great at is heavy deadlifts and squats and things like that. But what I need to do is the stuff I'm not so good at.
Right.
And so identifying those weak links, I think, is going to be, I'm super excited about the things you guys are going to talk about, because I know that I'll get to learn from that as well.
Yeah. And I think, again, it's not necessarily anything new. Like you said, we've covered this many times before, but I think what we've become more and more experienced and value, like you just described in the last 6 months, is that strength training and the solutions that we want to talk about are how to make strength training fit within that total comprehensive health span improving fitness program. So we certainly believe strength training is always going to be something that needs to be part of your life, but there's going to be seasons in which that takes more or less of the capacity that you have, the energy that you have to train. So that's kind of problem number one is, I want to be stronger. I want to build muscle mass into the future. How do I do that? And that's one of the topics that we'll be talking about. The other is, I kind of generically bucket as problems in the present. I don't look and feel the way that I want. And sometimes that's with people that are training already. And sometimes that's with people that haven't started training. So I think we want to talk about solutions for how to attack your training, build a training program based on our experience, again, with years of doing this with hundreds of clients, thousands of clients. What can we do? How can we modify our training to look and feel better today? The other bucket, kind of third major problem, is an identity related problem where historically lifting, and I think this is changing broadly across the culture, but historically lifting is kind of the thing that the angry power lifter does at the Black Iron gym. And some people might not be able to relate to that or see how that fits within their life. And so obviously we see thousands of clients that look nothing like me or you, and strength training is just as useful to somebody like that. So hoping that we can provide or talk about solutions in which anybody can train, how to do it. Certainly we prefer barbells as being Barbell Logic, but we've also, I think, through the pandemic and then since, I think most of us as coaches have broadly expanded the tools that we use to coach for strength training, whether we're meeting somebody before they're ready for barbells, like our Before Barbells program that we talked about, all the way up to, and maybe it's an injury or it's a situation where certain barbell lifts aren't feasible. You know, Niki, I know you're going through a phase right now where big, heavy squats and deadlifts aren't really a big part of your program, but you're still training. And you're still kind of building an identity around strength training that involves some barbell lifts, but a lot of variations that aren't necessarily that big, big four kind of program.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about that.
And then the last one that we see, I think, a lot, again, with clients as we've been doing this longer, are kind of lifestyle related. So I've started training, I've been training, but my life is changing. And I don't know how to fit it into my life anymore. If you go out and look at most of the dialogue on the internet about how to train, it's a lot about how to train optimally, in large part for competition. How do I get my best 1RM on a particular day for a meet? And yet, how many of our clients or people just in the world are training for that day?
Right.
We love competition.
Even in an optimal even if it's not a competition, even in like optimal life situations.
Right.
We have so many clients who are like, I'm moving across the country. We're having a baby in a month. I'm not sleeping well. I going through a job change. We've got a ton of executives that they travel all the time. I need hotel workouts, which, the hotel gyms they've got home gyms with barbells and all this stuff, but I want consistency, because consistency is number one. And technique is number two. And then the thing that everybody else fights about, which is programming, is still important, but like so clearly third. And so same thing for me when I travel. If that means going into a hotel gym and doing what I can with 40 or 50 pound dumbbells and doing some hit on the treadmill, that still provides the consistency that I need for the lifestyle that I have right now, which is the busy CEO that's traveling all over the world. And so 90% of our clients are in there, and 10%, and absolutely we can still, I think, meet the needs for the clients who are still very competitive, are trying to win the powerlifting meets. Like, we can meet those needs, but I think we'll speak much more broadly to the client that is the everyday general population client who's just trying to help strength training improve their quality of life. One more thing is that one thing that's changed for me in my coaching, and I think you guys as well, is that strength at all costs sort of piece, right? So now when a client tells me, I really love to train and get strong, but I also really love to ruck with my family or hike or ride my bike or play in the men's basketball league or whatever, I say, that's why we're training. Like, that's perfect. That's yes. I want you to do all, if you love those things, or just keep up with your grandkids or whatever the thing is, we want to be able to train in a way that supports your lifestyle. I think that's super important.
Yeah, I think one thing I want to also emphasize is that none of these problems or the solutions that we're going to be talking about are changes in our principles or philosophy. I think that the underpinning simple, hard, effective, MED, largely still going to be prioritizing barbells if we can, or building back towards barbells as the foundation of our training, and strength obviously and muscle mass being priorities, are still all part of what we're going to be talking about. And the perceived complexity, I think, when someone who's not as experienced as we are, or is trying to figure out how to apply this to their lives, it's part of why I think we add value as coaches, is that as you apply these simple, hard, and effective principles to you as an individual, it can look vastly different. And I don't know, Niki, if you want to talk a little bit about that, but just how we apply these principles can look almost infinitely different based on the equipment you have available and what your body is able to tolerate, the season of your life, and how much recovery capacity you have. But it may look totally different based on the individual, but the principles are still the same.
Right. Yeah, we'll definitely cover that. It's all about, how can I have muscle? Is what I kind of always filter it down to, and how can I keep it as a habit? It's what's important to me, and I think what comes up for a lot of people is like stability. When people are erratic with their training and their nutrition, something's unstable and they're trying to get back into a routine or make these big changes. But I want training to be a sense of stability. And like Matt was saying, when you travel, when life is in flux, like having a coach help you be stable with your training, knowing you are still on the right track, feels really good. Like, we'll just don't worry about needing to be everything. Like, how can we make training that space where it's like, okay, I'm being productive with my time, I'm on the right path, this is where I want to be going.
Yep. When we travel, we still brush our teeth, we still take showers, we still try to focus on protein when we eat food. Like, all of these things are normal everyday life, and we want training to become part of that same thing. So if I'm in a hotel and I can't do the heavy squats and deadlifts, but I can still get into a 15 or 20 minute good workout to establish consistency because it's just part of my life now, that's key for me. And while everybody's story is not going to be just like mine, everyone's going to have a similar story. That's like, how do we make training fit your lifestyle? It's a lifestyle that you really desire. So as you look at your lifestyle and you say, this is who I want to be in my lifestyle,
right,
I want training to support that. I don't want to have to give up the lifestyle to support the training. There's a paradigm shift that occurs there. We want training to support the lifestyle. And there are certain things that are, like you said, Andrew, that nothing has changed about the foundational core values of the company. Of like, strength training improves all qualities of fitness and physical abilities, but how do we do those things in a way that supports your lifestyle best? And those things are completely different based on season of life, goals, directions, if you need to gain weight, if you need to lose weight, if like whatever those things are. And so I think that's what's so great about having a coach. And so I noticed you put in here like the big call to action. And by the way, one of the things that we're really going to try to do is we're going to try to reduce significantly the number of advertisements and commercials on the podcast because of the success that the business has gone through over the last half year or year or so. We're in a position that we don't have to have sponsors for the podcast. It doesn't mean it'll always stay that way, but we want to be able to really get into the meat of the subject in the podcasts and stay there. At the same time, we also recognize how important it is to have a coach. All of us have coaches. Like, not only are we coaches, through Barbell Logic and using our software Turnkey Coach, but we are also clients of that. So we see the value of those things and we pay for those things. And so I think that's the big call to action.
I just hit BL1K this year.
You guys hit it in the same month.
Yep.
So you guys both hit your 1,000 workouts. Yeah. So we celebrate that BL1K, that 1,000 workouts in Barbell Logic, which often takes 6 or 7 years, and do a personalized plaque for people to hit their BL1K numbers. And you get a plaque that you get to put up on your wall and celebrates the fact that you did dude, that's a big accomplishment.
Do you remember the Hair Club for Men commercials back in the 90s? Right. Like, I'm not just the president or CEO. Like, I'm also
a client. That's exactly right. Yep. That's great.
Same thing for me.
Awesome.
How about you, Matt?
Yeah. What's up for you?
So I am really excited, and this is not going to be a surprise for anybody. I'm really excited about the business of coaching. So the episodes that I'm going to run are going to be called Coaching Success. And so again, you'll be able to see, you'll pull up the feed and you'll see Barbell Logic, Beast Over Burden, and then the title of the episode. And we'll know that that's an episode that's really you guys. Of course, obviously there are times where we'll have extra guests or special guests and on those podcasts, but those will be podcasts specifically for the lifter, for the passionate lifter. And mine are going to be called the Coaching Success episodes. These are episodes, they're going to be a little shorter. So I think our goal for your episodes are going to be about 30 minutes long, somewhere in that ballpark. For my episodes, they're actually going to be pretty tight. Hopefully, we'll see how well I can do. Mostly solo. Again, of course, I'll still have a special guest. I'm sure Scott and I may do some stuff. CJ will certainly come in and talk about the academy and places that we can improve from an education standpoint. But I am so passionate about the business side of coaching and focusing on topics like how to actually start a business, how to be people of action, not how to just read the books, which I think are important, but to actually step out and do the thing, how to push the chips to the middle of the table and go like, let's go and be people of action. Let's actually do the thing. Let's not just talk about the thing. Let's not just believe the thing. Let's not just have the orthodoxy, but have it lead to orthopraxy. The actual, like, what we believe leads us to how we actually practice. And so these things are really important. So how to actually start a business, successful gym ownership, online coaching versus in-person coaching, or both, the best combination of both, how to build trust with your clients, which is, I would argue at times, or at least is perceived as harder to do in the online coaching sphere. And I think we've done that well at Barbell Logic, improving your coaching efficiency and client service at the same time. Those things are not at odds with each other. So you can actually improve your efficiency as a coach, your dollars per hour as a coach, while not reducing service at all. And even an internal core value for us is that every time we improve efficiency for our coaches, we can't lose service for our clients. We want service to continue to get better. So we'll focus on those things. And really then some of the things that I still probably have some PTSD from, which is how to not be a slave to a schedule or a location. When you're, for those of you who are burned out coaches who are coaching in a gym, like maybe you're coaching 7 hours or 8 hours a day, but you're in the gym 12 hours, 14 hours, 16 hours a day, that is unsustainable. And how to move in a place that you don't feel like you have to be a slave to a specific location or a specific schedule. I have to train this client at 6 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning, whatever that is. So we're going to focus a lot on the business of coaching and on real actionable items. We have a full plan for every one of those short podcasts. We'll also have a blog post that pairs with it that dives a little deeper, so that if you want to get, like, you actually want to, like, hey, here's a spot that I really need to work on. Super grateful to our content team, to Nick Solin and to Noah and the guys that write these blog posts. Of course, we've got great post-production guys, Steven doing the post-production for the podcast, and we got our video post-production guys and Seth and Nate. And so we're going to be able to really tackle it at all mediums. And so what you'll see is the audio podcast anywhere that you want to hear audio podcasts. We will probably post these video versions on YouTube as well. And then we'll use a lot of the video stuff that we're doing now. So we're recording both audio and video here. We'll take those video and we'll try to create some of those little 15-second hooks that we can post on social media that help entice people, like, oh, there's value in this podcast episode that I want to actually follow and be able to click and move that direction. And so again, we'll have periodic coaching education content from CJ Gocher, who's our lead Barbell Academy director, who's, man, put together such an incredible amount of content. We've got new stuff coming out over the next several months in the academy, stuff that, again, learning in the process of building principles and advanced and the PBC, we put together a course for the Air Force called the Tactical Athlete Program and really tried to even raise the production standards that we've already put out. We're going to take those same production standards and we're going to put out, I think, sort of a pre-principles course that will come out. We'll continue to bring principles up in quality of production value. The quality of the content is already fantastic, the actual quality of the content, but to bring the production value up to something that we're really proud of at Block, I think will occur there as well. And then the audience for those coaching success episodes are really coaches, both up and coming coaches, as well as established coaches and those that are focused on productivity and entrepreneurships. For many years, I did business mentorship one-on-one. And I think one of the things that this podcast over the past 8 years has sort of scratched an itch for me is that I held a tremendous amount of bandwidth in the things I had learned as a strength coach. And because we are a service business and we make our money off service, I am very proud of the fact that we get to put out the content for free. And so we're not putting the content behind a paywall. The idea is we want to give you everything we know about how to be the lifter you want to be, the beast overburdened that fits your lifestyle, as well as if you're a coach and trying to really get your coaching practice off the ground, whether that's a second career, whether that's a post-main career, whether that's a value add or something that you do on top of your main career, whatever those things are, we want to be able to do that. And those are pretty tight episodes, 10 to 15 minutes for the coaching success episodes, 30 minutes or so for the Beast Overburden episodes. And so new podcasts will come out. This will come out this week, end of June. The new schedule will come out the week of July 4th, which is, we chose that on purpose, which is the 6-year anniversary of the Barbell Logic podcast. I think that the Beast Overburden podcasts are going to come out on Tuesdays and the coaching success episodes will come out on Fridays. Man, we're really excited for where it's going. Again, we would always love your feedback on ideas of what you want to hear about when it comes to these two podcasts, whether that's here are things I want to know about how to be a better lifter and how to make it fit my lifestyle, or here are some challenges that I'm dealing with on the business side of coaching. You can go to barbelllogic.com/podcast and fill out a short form, and we will talk about those things. We want to hear from you so you can actually inform the podcast. And it's like back when we were in the 7th grade and you call the radio station, right? And you'd request, can you play MC Hammer? And then you have to wait around for 2 hours for it to come out. We actually will be able to do that in a much easier, faster, more technologically advanced way. And you can actually color the podcast a little bit and help inform us on what we want to talk about. So that is the exciting future of the Barbell Logic podcast.
I think we should also have occasional bonus episodes titled Bidets and Booze, where,
it's like me and Scott sitting on a toilet drinking whiskey and talking about anecdotes.
You got to go back to the roots every once in a while.
For sure.
The anecdotes episode.
Scott and I are having great conversations. I'm actually going to his house Saturday to butcher a bunch of chickens.
There we go.
Perfect.
If you remember the story, one of the last times I did that, I ate a bunch of raw chicken livers and gave myself some sort of crazy amoebic dysentery. I probably won't do that.
Yeah, that did not go well.
Please don't do that again. We have our company conference in a couple weeks, and we want you to not be having to run to the bathroom every 20 minutes.
I was super dehydrated and cramping at the conference. So I will not do that, but I am going out. So I'll use this time of year, I get down to Tulsa or the area that Scott lives outside of Tulsa to butcher chickens once every 3 weeks or so, and we'll do some bonus episodes there as well. But for the most part, you'll see these two types of episodes, the Beast Overburden and the Coaching Success. And we're really excited. So 2 podcasts per week coming from Barbell Logic starting next week. We're really excited for it. So again, would love some reviews, 5-star reviews. Help us out with the algorithm. Resubscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Subscribe on multiple. So if you haven't done it, I subscribe to our own podcast. This is self-serving, right? on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Those are the 2 places that I'll listen to podcasts typically, but wherever you listen to podcasts, and would love a review as well. And then just, let us know what you want to hear about. I know we have our first 15 or so episodes ready to go in the can and where it's going to go, but certainly you have an opportunity to hear about topics that are important to you, and we want to address those issues.
Awesome.
So
looking forward to it.
Awesome. Super excited to be back. Thank you guys for your patience over the last 4 months as we have built and grown the business and been in such an incredible place. But man, super excited to come back and talk about all the things that we've learned and take the podcast in a fresh direction, and as well as bringing back the personalities that you've come to know and love over the years. So This has been another episode, a teaser episode of the Barbell Logic podcast.
10-minute, 30-minute teaser episode.
This is going to come out on Friday. We almost made it. And we'll see you next week with 2 new podcasts. So see you guys next week. Excited to be back.